Yay! Snaps. Thank you, Wesley. We appreciate your beautiful music, as always. Hello, good morning. Hola, bienvenidos. Buenos días. ¿Cómo están a todos? How's everybody feeling today? It's Sunday. It's April 18th. Here on the East Coast, it's 12 noon. Welcome to Triumph Life Center's virtual spiritual gathering. We're really happy to be here with you all. We'll start with our quote. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. True that. Today, we're going to be talking about the theme of both and the messy truth. The truth is sometimes more complicated and more messy than we would like it to be. I don't think it's ever as simple as we would hope, though sometimes it is. It's both and. As we go through our day today, we have our usual outline. We have our meditation, our scripture reading. We have some music to share with you, some sacred readings and poetry. We'll have our discussion, and we'll close out with some more poetry and announcements. Let's start with our scripture reading from the Tao. The truth is not always beautiful, nor beautiful words, the truth. I'll say it again. The truth is not always beautiful, nor beautiful words, the truth. So let's start with some of our grounding, some time to relax, to breathe, to set our intentions for today's virtual gathering. As usual, I have my singing bowl. When I strike the bowl, I invite you to take a nice deep breath, hold as long as you can, as you feel comfortable, and exhale. So let's do it. And exhale. And while you're breathing, I invite you to close your eyes if that feels safe for you. Get into a comfortable position. Relax as much as you can in this moment. And greet your body. Greet your beautiful soul. The energy that is within you is mighty. It is powerful. And it is not perfect. But in a way, that is what makes it perfect. This idea of perfection is a little strange. I think that if there's not something a little off, something a little maybe broken, then it's not necessarily truth. It's not truthful or righteous. And that's okay. My being as it is perfect. With all of its flaws, it is simply pure energy. And I'm open to that, and I'm loving of that. And I feel it throughout my whole body. At the top of my crown, my head, down to my ears, my eyes, my nose, my mouth, my jaw, my neck, my shoulders and my chest, my lungs, my rib cage, my heart, my hips, my legs, my ankles, my feet. That beautiful energy is there with me. It is a part of me, it is me, and I am it. Ring the bell that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. That's how the light gets in. That's how the light gets in. Ring the bell that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. That's how the light gets in. That's how the light gets in. Let's take one more breath together. A nice big one, and let out a big sigh. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Thank you for joining me with that. It felt nice. Together, we've strengthened ourselves in an expression of unity, love, and purpose to better relate to self, others, and the environment. Ashe. All right. So welcome everyone again to Triumph Life Center's virtual gathering. I'm Brenda. I'm your host. We have our team here as usual. Our musician Wesley, Miss Sandra Addison Brito, and Senior Bishop, Nadia, Trav, and I see James is on the call, one of our board members. Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, however you feel today. Today's, again, April 18th. Our theme is both and, the messy truth. As you might imagine, this is a complex topic because as the theme suggests, the truth is never that simple. But that's why we're here, to kind of talk about it a little bit and share some creative arts and see what other scholars and poets have to say about the matter. I want to give a little shout out to Miss Sandra Addison Brito. Last night, quite late last night, at least in the United States, she attended a call with one of our friends of Triumph, our partners, Agape Church in Pakistan. And also shout out to Pastor Youssef. We're happy to be partners with you, and we're excited to see where this goes. If y'all are interested in seeing or hearing the call, it's on our Facebook page, and it will soon be on YouTube. She Miss Sandra had shared some kind, optimistic words for the New Hope Christian School there in Pakistan. And that's really exciting to be international at this point. Is there anything you'd like to say about your experience?
Yeah, it was kind of cool and different. First time that I spoke with an interpreter, so that was a different kind of experience, a learning curve. But the folks there, the children, the women, the men were so warm. And I just felt a connection with them, just seeing them in their space, hearing them sing in their language and pray in their language, and Pastor Yusuf playing the drums. I just felt a connection there. So this is going to be an ongoing fellowship as we both, Pastor Yusuf has committed and we at Triumph have committed to. And we're looking forward to just spreading our wings and spreading good energy and positive vibes, as we said, Triumph International, all around the world.
Mm-hmm. Just as much as we teach, we learn. And just
Yes.
as much as we learn, we teach each other. Thank you. Okay. As we go through our gathering today, feel free to comment, feel free to unmute and speak. If you're in the Zoom call, if you're online on Facebook watching us live, you're welcome to leave a comment or to share our live stream. We are happy to connect with you. So relax, enjoy, get ready, have fun. We'll be talking about the messy truth. As always, the Christ in me celebrates the Christ in you, and together we'll make our world brand new. Welcome to Triumph.
Triumph's 7 life affirming principles, the basis of union. 1. We affirm that life is in the breath and breath is life. Therefore, we join together to promote our shared humanity and inseparable breath. We affirm that we are born whole, complete as perfect manifestations of the universal mind, Christ. We affirm our physical bodies differ, and as such may present different challenges, limitations, or privileges that everyone may not share in. Therefore, we join together to share our strengths and support one another where there may be weaknesses so that we all may enjoy the fullness of life. We affirm that our agreement is to pursue peace, walk in truth, uphold justice tempered with mercy. We affirm that we are like branches on a tree. Although we may grow in different directions, we share a common root, and as such, we pledge to respect each person's path, even as it may differ from one's own. We agree to walk in agreement that it is all right to disagree, and we protect and safeguard this right, and so much as the state of disagreement upholds an affirmation of life. We affirm that community building is the process of communal shared principles, shared resources, as well as equitable access to resources. Therefore, we commit to being agents of an open culture that welcomes everyone to participate in the life of the community, with the provision that we also hold each other accountable for acts that do not support the life affirming principles of our awareness, while equally looking for and enacting a commitment to forgive and restore in the spirit of humility and love. Lastly, we affirm the earth and all that dwell therein are manifestations held within the universal mind Christ, and humanity's role is to be faithful stewards of this earth by demonstrating respect and dignity for all beings, the sacredness of Mother Earth, and our commitment to caring for her as we care for ourselves.
Okay.
Thank you. So, related to our theme, we're going to next share a song, a music video. It's called Truth Be Told by Matthew West.
Mhm.
I guess what stood out for me was like I guess when the music video, the mother was taking a picture and sharing on social media like, oh, this perfect day, but it's kind of a mess.
Yeah,
A
I'm
lot of people
fine.
did it.
Yeah.
I
You
don't
have, go ahead. Mhm.
I think it's like the truth kind of brings out this feeling of shame or something that you should be embarrassed about because it is messy. It's uncomfortable to admit certain things.
And then, folks in our circle probably really don't want to hear the truth. I mean, they ask, oh, how are you? Do they really want us to share what we're going through? You know, and so that balance, how honest can you be about yourself,
Mhm.
with others, even with people close to you? How honest, how vulnerable can you be? Um, versus, let me just deal with this myself. And then,
Mhm.
as you said, there is that shame or that feeling of isolation that, the lie is, oh, I'm the only one dealing with this,
Mhm.
which we know isn't a truth. So it's difficult, but I think we've all maybe been at that space where we smiled when that's not really what we were feeling inside. We
Mhm.
put on a smile. One of my favorite songs from back in the day, Smokey Robinson, "The Tears of the Clown." Um, that covered, the lyrics basically says, I'm laughing, I'm smiling, everybody thinks I'm happy, but I'm really hiding behind my tears.
Mhm. Wow. Thank you for sharing that song with us.
Yeah.
Again, if anyone's interested, we'll share the link on our Facebook page. It's called Truth Be Told by Matthew West. Let's move into our opening prayer. Unity of all, Hanto Yo. Hanto Yo means clear the way in the Lakota. Let us pray. God of surprises, you call us from the narrowness of our traditions to new ways of being church, from the captivities of our culture to creative witness for justice, from the smallness of our horizons to the bigness of your vision. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might call others to freedom and renewed faith. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might call others to wholeness and integrity. Great Spirit, you call us from fear to faithfulness, from clutter to clarity, from a desire to control to deeper trust, from the refusal to love to a readiness to risk. Clear the way in us, your people, that we might all know the beauty and power and danger of the gospel.
Ashe.
Ashe. I'll share some information about Triumph Life Center based in Canarsie, Brooklyn. We opened on October 19th, 2019, under the umbrella of Triumph the Church of the New Age International, founded in 1904. We seek to further the work of founder Bishop Elias Dempsey Smith, who had a vision of a New World system that he fully believed was attainable through the shared practice of spiritual principles that would lead to our collective awakening or higher expression of the divine. Triumph Life Center's vision is of an interdependent community formed from the tapestry of our individual and collective experiences of the divine that fosters both an embodied spirituality and epistemology as pathways to establishing a new world where all may share in the fullness of life. Our mission is to promote the creation of new cultural practices and social and economic systems that are egalitarian, affirms our shared humanity, and holds sacred the earth and all life forms. To create a safe and sacred space where marginalized individuals and communities who may not have equal access to opportunities can connect up, to expand both their spiritual and intellectual life, and gain access to opportunities for personal growth through shared resources and support for developing spiritual gifts and intellectual pursuits. To honor the Sabbath as a time for individual and collective spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental well being. Through shared music, spoken word, sacred readings, and in person together, a communal meal. Our goal is to be a hub for conversations envisioning a new world order, creative arts expressions, emerging social entrepreneurships, promoting community owned sustainable food systems for access to healthy living, expanding reverence and care for the earth and all life forms, forming alliances and building bridges across community barriers that mutually affirm our shared humanity, and people of all faiths, cultures, ethnicities, races, genders, orientations, abilities, personal challenges, etc., to be in community with each other on one accord. That's triumph. So let's move into our sacred readings featuring Wesley and Trav.
grace to fall from heaven, to only realize you have wings. When God gives you a task, it must be done. To enlighten while wearing the mask, to find peace in self, the power to heal as well, to be blind and still reach your destination, to have flaws in perfection, iron God reputation, to believe in manifestation, to be strong in temptation, to be free to have information, change in another word for inspiration. A message is a revelation. Humanitarian, to see the future and cry, to look at others and want to die, destruction and the effect of a lie, to know people will suffer is a curse, no one better than the other, to turn toxic into peace, self-care to world care, a leader bring peace. You can be awake and dream, growth is a part of peace. We are all in here together because they know I and team. We're good for all, not just for one. Selflessness is a strength, not a weakness. We take action to be speechless. Love is the foundation. Peace comes from imagination. Hope, to pray when faith is lost. To stand with no legs. To see someone who begs for help. The effect of being lost. To have a mouth with no words. To be given a heart with no blood. To be given ears to hear lies. To continue when there's no ending. To see a hand in quicksand. It's a scary word when so many people are pretending. To continue, then collapse. Face full of sweat, no breath from the body. Bright white cloud gathered together. A beam of light hit his body. I watch your journey, my son. What you lost, I will give you back time 20, said God. His body began to regenerate. What was lost is now found. What was quiet now has sound, said God. The light went back to the sky. Cloud parted away. Welcome home. You've been watching for a long time. To endure so much and still have pure heart. You can't rewind time, but can give you a fresh start. What you've been through become beautiful art. Welcome home. This is the place where scars become testimonies, where birth will be a ceremony. Welcome home. This is where you belong. Welcome to Trying Church.
Thank you. So a little update. We hosted our open house for Triumph School of Integral Studies yesterday, Saturday. Um, and we presented some of our core values, a little bit about what integral studies are, and our course descriptions. And we shared some information about how to apply. If you're interested, please check out our website, Triumph the Church of the New Age international.org, and you'll see a page TSIS where you can find a digital application to register, or you can download a PDF and fill it out yourself and send back via email. You can email us at triumphschoolofintegralstudies@gmail.com with any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, anything regarding our courses and registering, anything like that. You're also welcome to watch a recording of the open house where you might get some of your questions answered. It's available on our YouTube page and shared on our social media, our Facebook pages. So feel free to take a look, ask your questions. We're here for you. We're excited. There's a lot of interesting topics. It's going to be great. Just a little bit more. It's a continuing education school, and we offer certificates of completion, whether you take one course or if you choose to take a variety of courses. Really, we're trying to achieve a holistic perspective on human agency. Our pedagogy is of an embodied spirituality and epistemology as pathways to knowledge production and individual and collective agency. So our courses are specifically in philosophy, spirituality, performing and visual arts, nonprofit or church finances, community building. We have a teen mentorship program for teenage boys. Also a conversational English class if you're interested in improving your English skills. This is specifically for the spring and summer semesters from April to mid-August. Again, if you want to find more information or ask any questions, Triumph the Church of the New Age-international.org, or you can watch the recording of the open house on our YouTube channel. You can just type in Triumph Life Center. Anything else anyone wants to say?
No, just our first courses that are beginning will be in music, guitar, which is going to be taught by Wes. So if you are interested in just learning the guitar, or if you have, some experience but want to just increase your skill set, email us or go to our website, as Brenda said, and see how you can sign up and register and enroll.
Yay! All the facilitators and instructors are part of the Triumph team or on the board. And you can find out more of their background, their biographies, a picture of them on our website too, under board and staff members. So we have a song. Are you ready to share, Travis?
This song called Confessions. These are my confessions. These are my confessions. These are my confessions. You must experience a curse before you break a person. The devil wanted blood. The devil wanted blood. God said you're beautiful. I'm from the mud. I'm from the gutter. You ain't hear me. I did not stutter. Remember I told ya. God and I made a deal. I sold myself for love. I sold myself for love. These are the confessions from a pretty boy Rasta. Rihanna very rude boy. The devil wanna beat me. That he was silly boy. I was homeless like a tree. From eviction to addiction. The devil broke my jaw. Then he wanted me to do time. I'm talking jail. I'm talking prison. No commissary. No visits. The boss made me go crazy. Wacko, yakko, and die. I right my wrongs. Got you connected the dots. These are my confessions. These are my confessions. These are my confessions. You must, before you break a curse, you gotta be a blessing. The devil wanted blood. The devil wanted blood. God said you're beautiful. I'm from the mud. I'm from the gutter. You hear me? I did not stutter. Remember I told ya, God and I made a deal. I sold myself for love. I sold myself for love. Like Rico, I had dreams of going to DC, but streets gave me nightmares and turned me to a ghost. I'm from the school of hard knocks. I'm talking extortion. I'm talking felonies. I'm talking murder. I used to feel unworthy of love. I remember to be afraid of the consequences. God gave me the courage to swim with the sharks. God sat with me when it was dark. I told God I'm gonna build an empire just like Fox.
That was cool, Travis.
Snap.
I like the line that says, before you can break a curse, you have to be a blessing. I like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trav.
No problem.
You're cool. Let me share the screen again. So we're going to start our discussion about the messy truth. We kind of engaged a little bit last week about this idea of truth. We shared music, a little bit of poetry on the theme. If you want to check out some of the performances from last week, the musical performances, they were awesome. We have it on our YouTube channel. You should definitely take a look if you didn't get to see, because we really enjoyed. It was
Yeah,
so beautiful and
it
exciting.
was.
Some old friends. So that was nice. Shout out to Alex and Jose, and also James sang a song. Thank you, James, and played guitar. And thank you, Travis, for always sharing your music as well. Thank you.
Yeah, last week was really cool. It was so uplifting and inspiring, and the music was just awesome all around.
Today, we're going to dig a little bit more into the truth, kind of considering how it's complicated. It's not as simple as we would hope it could be. And sometimes it is simple. And it's hard to accept that too, because it's like, how could it be that simple? Or how could it be so messy, as I always say? I wanted to start off by introducing this concept of both and. I think I've definitely talked about it with you all in the past, but to give some more information, I found out about it when I was reading about womanist theory in psychology in particular. So there's a woman, Gloria Evangelina Anzaldúa. She was a scholar of Chicana cultural theory, feminist theory, and queer theory. Her best known book is Borderlands or La Frontera, The New Mestiza. Her concept of ni de aquí ni de allá means neither here nor there, in which states of complexity and discomfort ultimately foster resilience and growth. So if you think about the borderlands, if you think about being in transition, in movement, fluid, um, kind of how we, if you want to think with queer theory, connecting it to that, this idea that sexuality is fluid, identity is fluid, gender is fluid. It's never this or that, the polarities, the extremes, or the binaries that we are kind of taught to believe in and to think of. Both and acknowledges that that transition is constant, that we are always in transition throughout our whole lives. I think, our personalities form at a young age, but we are deeply influenced by our experiences as we grow and develop and evolve as human beings. So although we may have that biological basis of who we are, um, it's not only nurture, it's not only nature, it's a interesting, messy mix of both and. The both and perspective validates and accepts multiple realities. It embraces contradiction while simultaneously rejecting dichotomies and binaries, or these one or the other, all or nothing. It kind of just is like, we can't think in that way. We have to think in a more encompassing way. For instance, our existence is both personal and political, simply our existence. And we can make decisions from both the heart and the mind. I think there's always this idea of like, well, my brain is telling me this, but my heart is telling me this. Which one do I follow? You kind of use a nice mix of both in my perspective, at least. A little bit of reasoning mixed with that internal instinct, that gut feeling. I think that if we rely on only one or the other, we can kind of be led astray or not really start to approach the truth. I don't even know if we ever find the truth. Um, I'd actually like to bring in one of the poems right now of that idea of, I don't know if we can ever fully grasp the truth. So this poem, give me 1 second so I can move this around so you can see it. I really like this website, by the way, poets.org. I find a lot of cool poetry on here. Um, this poem is called Truth, Said a Traveler by Stephen Crane. Truth, said a traveler, is a rock, a mighty fortress. Often I have often have I been to it, even to its highest tower, from whence the world looks black. Truth, said a traveler, is a breath, a wind, a shadow, a phantom. Long have I pursued it, but never have I touched the hem of its garment.
Mm.
And I believed the second traveler, for truth was to me a breath, a wind, a shadow, a phantom, and never had I touched the hem of its garment.
Wow. I like that.
Again, that's by
Yeah.
Stephen Crane.
Yeah. Thanks for
I thought
sharing
that was
that, Brenda.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Again, this idea that we're always aiming for and reaching for the truth. And sometimes we look for it in specific labels, we look for it in extremes, we look for it only through reasoning rather than feeling, or only through feeling rather than thinking logically about it a little bit more. And this idea of both and is that if we start to embrace and accept contradiction and this idea of multiple truths, that we might get closer to reaching our truth. Um, this a little bit idea of postmodernism. From what I understand postmodernism to be, it's at least from what I again had learned from a psychological perspective, is that each person that we as a clinician that you might work with has their own reality, their own perspective, their own truth. And we can't devalue it or deny it, even if we don't see the world in that way, because they have gone through all of their experiences, all of their relationships, all of their knowledge is very subjective. I'll read some quotes from a few articles that I found. These quotes are from changingminds.org. Postmodernism challenges all truths and concludes that there is no such thing. What do you think of that? I don't know. If you look closely at atoms and electrons, it is hard to find any mass at all. Similarly, the more closely you challenge scientific and other truths, the less absolute truth may be found. Postmodernist truth is hence that there is no truth. There is convenience and illusion, but nothing that we can declare as complete truth. Okay, that's a very interesting idea. I think because you always think, okay, there is a universal truth with a capital T, but like everyone's truth is very subjective. And then thinking in a postmodernist approach, I suppose, it's like there is no truth at all, actually. Depending, that's quite controversial. In the manner of the Emperor's New Clothes, we accept truth and then are made to feel hugely uncomfortable when the untruth is exposed. Postmodernist discussion floats in the air as it cannot land on a firm conclusion. Its challenge to truth can even be turned inward, questioning the truth of postmodernism itself. I like that. I like that it can be used against itself, that idea. Question everything. Postmodernism is a bit like creativity, where you hold conflicting ideas in your mind at the same time. It's also like quantum mechanics, where a thing can be simultaneously true and untrue. It challenges but offers no answer. Like a Shakespearean fool, it points out paradox while embodying it. It is useful in the way that it keeps us thinking, even though it offers no conclusive answers. I'll open it up. Does anyone have like, anything that comes to mind, anything that was sparked? Take your time with it.
I'm just waiting to see if others want to say something first, because once I jump in, I kind of just lose myself in the conversation.
This is James. Can you hear me?
Hi, James.
I
Good
feel you,
morning. Good
Tony.
afternoon.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Um, well, truth is, I think about it a lot. So I will share a few things uh, that maybe will prompt some conversation in a slightly different direction. Um, so we mentioned no binaries earlier, which was uh, interesting. But I'll share a conversation I just had with my uh, daughter. I'm going to the recycle place to drop off recycle. I ask her if she wants to go. She says, I don't know. I ask her if she wants to go. She says, I don't know. And then I say, where are you going to be when the car leaves? She's going to go, she says, in my room. So then I say, you've told me what you want. And so actions are commitments. And in this case, and in many cases, actions are binary commitments in the sense that you're doing something and you're not doing other things because of your limited technology. So there are binaries that we have to deal with. And I don't think it's I think it's a fairer position to say that there are binaries that have to be faced. Um, so that's the one comment, and I will leave it at that. Thank you very much.
I would thank you, James, for sharing. I would just ask you to elaborate more. Where's the binary in that example for you that you gave? I'm trying to just hear that and understand that a little better.
Okay, I'm going to make this even more strong. It's not a binary for me. It's a binary for everyone, meaning that your choice to do something is a choice to not do other things, right? And there's no avoiding that. And so to try and gray it, I think is not fair, right? I mean, we're sitting here in this Zoom meeting and not in another Zoom meeting that we could possibly be in, right? That's a choice, that's a commitment, and these are unavoidable.
Thank you for just clarifying that. When I think about choices and binary, I think about a binary as being choices between just two opposites versus choices being a multiple array of things, not just um, things that are juxtapositioned or in opposition. So just using the example of your daughter, if I can ask, she made a choice. It sounds like you had given her an option, but perhaps in her mind there were multiple choices um, that she could have chosen. Just like for each of us this morning, there are multiple choices of places where we each could have been, not just here or another Zoom room, but multiple places that had nothing to do with Zoom. So those are choices. And yeah, I agree, there are many choices. But when I think of a binary, I'm thinking about being locked into either or, um, this or that, right or wrong, black or white, versus there are just multiple. And maybe I'm thinking about it in a different kind of way, but that's what I think about when I think about binary versus choices.
I guess I'm also considering it through the lens of identity, because that's where I've mainly encountered this kind of language. But it's interesting to consider it like, I guess, more physically or quite more literally, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, um, going back to the first slide you shared, Brenda, this idea of truth um, and the either or. Yeah, part of my own personal challenge over my adult life has been coming to terms with um, and deconstructing something that I had believed or was taught for most of my life. And that is the idea that there is an absolute truth and an absolute untruth. So that binary of right and wrong with no gray area was something I was totally convinced of for a large part of my life. And as I've matured and the older I have gotten, I have come to find, and this may not be for everyone, that life is more about the gray spaces than it is about the black or white spaces. And that was very challenging for me to get there because I wanted things to be black or white. It's easier for my mind to be able to say this is what is right and that's what is wrong. It's a struggle to live in the gray spaces for me. So that has been my journey, and where I'm at this stage in my life is just, and it was kind of sad for me, and a real metamorphosis, a real challenging space of years of releasing that thought that there is this absolute that doesn't exist in the way that I had embraced it. The other thought is where you mentioned mind or heart, that we can think with both. My question would be, or thought would be on that, why do we have to differentiate between mind and heart? Who told us that they are not infused and that they are so interconnected that we are always using both at the same time? And we may lean towards one or lean towards the other, but we really can't separate them in some clear binary, as I understand the term, where we're in the mind and not in the heart. That's a misnomer. It's kind of the illusion that
Mm.
we're using one or the other.
I guess I think about the heart as what I want, and then the mind as what I should. I don't like that word should,
Mm,
but I guess it's like this idea of what I really want to be doing versus what I really think I should do to I guess benefit my future, or to be more righteous or fair or respectful. That's interesting. And then in the end, sometimes we compromise and do a little bit of
yeah.
both. I'm also thinking about like the borderlands, the frontera, immigration, and thinking about how people are literally crossing a border. And though they are physically in one country, in the new country, and being immersed in this new culture, new language, new food, new everything, new weather, even, a lot of their experience, all of their experience, maybe their memories and their relationships are based somewhere else. So it's like this intense contradicting. I'm physically here, and maybe I'm being forced to assimilate, even to conform and fit in, but my internal self, where I still identify as a person from this other country, which is interesting. That is a traumatic experience in itself.
Yeah, I read a glorious book in graduate school. I studied it, and then afterwards, I've used it in some of my courses. And again, as I move and evolve in the way I think about things, um, I love her text because of some of the things you said precisely. This idea of how we can relate that in a very geographical way, Mexico or other borders. And we can also relate it in as a metaphor. But I also, at this stage where I'm at now, challenge even that notion of borders. Borders are artificial.
Mm-hmm.
They're man-made. They're constructed.
Absolutely.
So whenever we are at a border, the idea of whose border, whose reality, whose truth, who gets to determine borders,
Mm-hmm.
how are those assigned?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to just go back to James, because I know James and I have had a lot of discussions along this line of truth, and just ask James if you would just share from your perspective on this notion of absolute truth. I know we've talked about postmodernism and conversations in the past, but what is your sense or theory or idea of absolute truth?
I'm so glad you asked. Um, so I will say, so I, like you, went from an absolute truth to a more relativistic position and have actually gone back to a much stronger absolutist position.
Mm.
Um, and it's absolutist in the sense that from a technological perspective, right? So right now we don't have the current capacity to go backwards in time, right? So if we can agree on that right now we can't, like, I can't go back to the beginning of this Zoom call right now and say, hey, here I am at the beginning, and by the way, I was there at 12:42, right? Can't do that. That's a forced kind of absolute that I have to deal with. I call them unavoidables, right? So from a technological perspective, there are absolutes that have to be dealt with. And I think it's unfair or unwise to not see some things as unavoidable. So, and those get into this kind of absoluteness. Now, are they absolute? No, we can't say. I can't prove it, right? But it doesn't matter, right? From a practical standpoint. So those are the kinds of things that go into this absolute bucket. I call them unavoidables. I don't use the word absolute because then you get into this, it pushes the conversation in an unproductive direction, right? And so that's how I've begun to manage this notion of absolutes and truths and all that. Because at the end of the day, like, you want to go to sleep, right? And there's things that support you going to sleep. So if that scenario is not met, you don't sleep, right? So those are kinds of truths that we have to deal with. And I think it makes it easier to understand. It makes it easier to find bridges between different agendas, right? So I would say that you have an agenda, Brenda has an agenda, I have an agenda, and what I do relative to my agenda is my right and wrong. I don't use the terms because I think right and wrong are, I think it leads us to conversations that are unproductive. I say, what is my agenda? Am I doing something according to my agenda, or is it supporting my agenda? Yes or no, right? And it eliminates this grayness in a sense once I've committed to an agenda. Now, can I commit to another agenda? Sure. But within a given agenda, there is black and white. If I drop my keys, they drop to the ground. There's no questions about that. Given X, scenario, this is going to happen. And that's, I think, so without some kind of um, acknowledgement of truth, you can't have patterns, follow patterns, and have any sorts of pattern prediction control. So that's my short answer to your question.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, James. And I like that you use the term, the preferential term, as unavoidable. Um, I can see how that would be useful even for me and the way I think about these ideas. And it's interesting, going from a relativist position to an absolutist, but I also like where you said there's no absolute. So that it all becomes almost relativist in a sense. So thank you for sharing that.
I'm going to share this slide. Truth and Taoism. Humans love definition. Definition implies we can find an answer for everything. The problem is assuming that an absolute truth exists in every definition. This is not the case. Taoism teaches that from a human perspective, no absolute truth, no complete falsehood can be defined or embraced by a person. Taoism shows human nature in itself is a smaller part of the larger whole. When examining something, looking for answers, finding a statement, every such examination will contain both truth and falsehoods. Even more confusing, the mixture of truth and falsehood is relative to each observer. Even more confusing, the mixture of truth and falsehood will shift for each person over time as they change. So when you look at anything, as a Taoist, you accept a view of the world being a mixture of perception. Within that perception, there will be elements of truth and falsehood. Wow.
I think and I gravitate more to the Taoist view here, but I think what's flawed even in the Taoist view is that, and I think they maybe open this up a little bit later as you read. We're using words, as James may would agree, that we haven't really defined.
Mm,
And so we can say it includes both truth and falsehood, but what is truth and falsehood?
hmm I'm also wondering, based on what James had said, if there's like a difference between truth and then like reality.
Can I jump in here? So there's the whole notion of definition, right, is problematic. That's the whole problem with postmodernism, right? Because in postmodernism, you can come to say that I am an apple, and that's true. And
Uh-huh.
we know that that's ridiculous, okay?
Uh-huh.
I'm not an apple, okay? So there it's, but the, okay, I'm gonna go, no, I'm not gonna go there.
Go there, go there.
Okay, so
Do it.
I think here's one of the bottom lines is that language is a kind of trap in of itself,
Yeah.
right? If I say, hey, it's sunny. Well, what do you mean by sunny? I mean, how many clouds have to be in the sky before it's sun, right? I mean, and so that's that gray area that you're talking about. But at the end of the day, when we have a conversation, you know what I mean by the sunny. I know what it means by sunny. And that's what we just use. So the philosopher that really handled this whole thing is Wittgenstein. He calls them language games. And like once you start pulling on any thread of any definition, you can end up in meaningless territory. Take any word and it can end up being meaningless, right? So the notion of definition has to be taken in a context for getting something done. So the definition game is a dangerous game to play because you can end up really justifying anything you want with just about any word. And that's why I don't play the definition game. I say, okay, this is a general idea. This is what I mean. If you get it, great. If you don't get it, we're not in agreement and we're not having a conversation because I can't have a conversation with you if you're going to continue to deconstruct every word that I say.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that, and I think that's what the beginning of this passage that Brenda started reading. Taoism says that definition is problematic. I think though that definitions are words or defined in communities and not individualistic. Although within communities are made up of individuals. And so we have this communal sharing of ideas and of words that are agreed upon, not in some formal meeting, but by usage and by time. However, within that, we have individuals that still have a perspective. So we have the whole of the community and the individual. That tension, I think, is always existing as words and ideas are evolving and changing over time. And we've seen this probably in all of your lifetime, how words and usage of those words are accepted or not accepted by communities, maybe by the community, but by some segments of the community are resisting them. And so this is an ongoing flux. For humans, language and words probably um, the best way we have of communicating directly, but there has to be some agreement about the meaning of those in a community. And that agreement can be that we do have some different ways of understanding those words. So that's a form of agreement to say, I may see this and understand this word one way, you may see it and understand it a different way, and we can agree that we have differences there.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. Then definition really is by this actually serves my point, right? Definition then is by agreement. So if we're not in agreement, we don't have a shared definition. There is no conversation.
So we don't have to agree to the same definition, but we can agree, I think, to acknowledge that we understand it differently. So for example, this discussion that's been ongoing for maybe like 10 years or so about the N word. Who can use it? What's the meaning of it? Why it should not be used? So there's this school of thought that says a certain demographic should never use this word. There's another school of thought that says nobody should use this word. There's another school of thought that says, well, this word can be empowering if used in a particular way. So we can fall out and say, each of us individually, I agree with this group's idea, or that group's idea, or that group's idea. Or we can say, listen, I respect each particular group's own perspective on how they use this word. I may use it differently, I may understand it differently, but I acknowledge they have a right to understand it in the way they do and use it in the way they do. So although we don't agree on the usage and definition of the word, we agree to allow others to have a different definition and a different usage of the word without being in conflict with each other.
No, but then but at the end, okay, that again serves my point. We're not in agreement with the usage of the word, right? And that disagreement can lead to other disagreements and lead to other disagreements, which can eventually lead to, well, I don't like it so much that I'm going to cut your head off, right? So this notion of, that's why I concentrate on the notion of agreement, and then we're deciding, okay, so you see how the line just moves. Then we're going to have to say, okay, how are we going to deal with the fact that we're not agreeing, right? And so the definition again, but here's another point. The definition of the word, right, is still pretty clear of the N word, right? We're just saying how it's being used and how that historical context is going to be used. So we're not actually arguing about the definition in that case. We're arguing about usage, right? Because everyone knows what the word means.
Well, I think there are those that would argue that the word has been co-opted and the definition ultimately changed. For example, in the LGBTQ community, there was a time when certain words that were used in a derogatory way had a very derogatory meaning and was weaponized against people that identified as gay or homosexual. Whereas that community has taken back those words and now they embrace those words and they use those words to self-identify.
Yeah, and if let's just say I'm not an LGBTQ fan and I use those words, it's completely inappropriate.
So like impact versus intent comes in. And then about this idea of like disagreement, I think that it's kind of beneficial to acknowledge the existence of disagreement, because then in a way it validates our identity and our beliefs and our narrative, which is self-serving. And I don't know, is that like, I don't know, but I think that there is some benefit to having that disagreement, because it kind of opens your mind a little bit more. Even if you completely like feel really against, I guess, maybe the use of a particular word, at least you can acknowledge that there is a group of people that think this way and I don't think that way. So that empowers me, or it makes me seek my truth even harder, even more specifically.
Right. Which is
where I'm going with that, but like that's what I thought.
Yeah, but that will actually make communication more and more difficult, right? Because and I'm coming to see it's really about our agendas and what is the agenda and what do you want to accomplish,
Who is it?
and do those words and do those definitions accomplish what you want, right? And it's like, so we could take the N word, we can take, like I don't use the words black, white, race, racism. I've removed them completely from my vocabulary because I think they promote those ideas in their usage, period. Right? It's a kind of like what James Baldwin said. He said, if I'm black, you have to be white.
Mm.
Right? So I'm like, I'm not playing that game. I'm throwing it out because I'm not going to be the one promoting that game. But then there's some people, like I had the conversation with Sandra, who says, well, the term black to her is, empowering, right? But to me, it's still playing that game. I don't care whether you call it empowering or not. Find another word, But I'm not going to say to somebody, hey, I'm not going to demand that person not use that word because I think that's stepping over a line of freedom,
Yes.
right, of expression, but I won't come into agreement with it. And it's like, and there's certain things that I don't do in my house, right? And so it can create a kind of conflict. What do you do when you're at that person's house? Do you use the word or do you not use the word, right? Or what do you do for your kids, right? And so these are the kinds of conflicts that are ever going because there are different agendas at play. And it's less about the words and more about the agenda. That's why the agenda is your truth.
Uh,
And
I
in
just
regards to time, we gotta close. But you
I
go.
just wanted to ask Bandely if we could just take a minute because she hasn't weighed in, if she wanted to just weigh in on this at all, because we are out of time, way out of time.
Excuse me, I've been listening, not necessarily my full self today, but as you were talking, the only thing that kept coming in my mind is a day without words, a day without words, a day without words. But so great.
Hmm.
We get caught up and tripped up and complex life and so many use of words that sometimes, even in your own marriages, remove the words and realize you can communicate effectively without one word. A day without words, give it a try.
Wow, that was worth hearing. Thank you, Bandely. Brenda,
Wow.
this was an awesome discussion. Maybe we can continue it next week. I think there's just so much more that we can talk about with this.
Yeah, there was some more things that we wanted to share with you all.
Yeah,
Thank you to our community for speaking
yeah.
and sharing with us.
And James always challenges me to just think and stretch and whatever. So I appreciate him just going for it. Thank you, James.
I just want to add one more for James. As he was talking to the intent, the meaning, the motive behind something. And I know many conversations I've had with James a long time ago, but I always cannot go back to old conversations because as far as I'm concerned, every time I hear James, he evolves to another level. So what I'm hearing, James, is the spirit that we forget that comes from every word that comes out. And sometimes we don't listen to what that spirit is truly saying. The words trip us up, but there is a message behind the words.
Absolutely.
All right, familia. Let's take a breath. I'll strike my bowl. And I invite you again to greet your body, greet your beautiful soul. Say hello. Notice any emotions, any thoughts that have come up throughout this discussion and how you might want to process them or release them as you move through your day, through your week. Let's do one more. There is a crack in everything, that's how The light gets in, that's how the light gets in, that's how the light gets in. All right. I think first I'll pass it to Travis to please read.
Invitation to join Triumph. Here's how you become part of our Triumph family. You can become a member of Triumph or start a Triumph charter group in your community. Email us and request more information. You'll form a group virtually throughout the country, and you can become a spiritual leader and healer in this movement. You are one part of Triumph. You're still family, and we would love to welcome you back home. Email us and let us know you would like to reconnect with your Triumph family, and we will show you how. Your church or faith community can also become part of our Triumph family as your friend of Triumph and share in the life of this community. Email us for more information at triumphlifecenter@gmail.com. You can support our ongoing mission of healing, educating, inspiring, and creating new ways of being in the community through your financial donation with a tax deductible at our cash app $Triumph 2020 or mail to Triumph to Church of the New Age, P.O. Box 2157, Newark, New Jersey 07114.
Thank you. I'll share some announcements, our this week's words to live by, and then Wesley will close us out with music. So for our announcements, check out our resource guide. It's updated every week. It's on our website, and we also share it on our Facebook pages, where you can find all sorts of resources and a lot of the music, literature, articles, and things that we share throughout our Sunday gatherings. We have our website, Triumph the Church of the New Age international.org. And I'll plug again our School of Integral Studies, where you can apply. You can look through course descriptions and the schedule and find out if that might be the right path for you to join us in some classes. We're working on our newsletter, which will be sent out the end of April, so keep an eye for that. We're all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, even Spotify, if you want to listen to some of our music that we have shared throughout the year, throughout the gatherings. And again, please email us at triumphlifecenter@gmail.com if you have any questions, ideas, comments, suggestions, anything like that. Please let us know. We are here for you and we love you. Continue to social distance and stay safe. Consider getting the vaccine if that is something that might be good for you and your family. You can find a lot of information online. This week's words to live by. Before you think. T, is it true? H, is it helpful? I, is it inspiring? N, is it necessary? And K, is it kind? Not just nice, but kind.
Doesn't have to be nice, but it has to be kind, right, Trav?
Go ahead, Wes.
Awesome. Thank you, Wes.
Thank you. I will share our closing prayer. Let us pray. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end war, for we know that you have made the world in a way that people must find their own path to peace within themselves and with their neighbors. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end starvation, for you have already given us the resources with which to feed the entire world if we would only use them wisely. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to root out prejudice, for you have already given us eyes with which to see the good in all people, if we would only use them rightly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end despair, for you have already given us the power to clear away slums and to give hope, if we would only use our power justly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end disease, for you have already given us great minds with which to search out cures and healing, if we would only use them constructively. Therefore, we pray to you instead, O God, for strength, determination, and willpower to do instead of just pray, to become instead of merely to wish.
Ashe
Thank
and amen. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe and enjoyable week. Um, we'll hope to see you next week.